Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bob Wahl Show. On the Bob Wahl Show, we talk business, St. Louis, and real estate. I'm excited because we have episode number 3 of a 4-episode series with Tom and Cherie from St. Louis Radon, and they are going to educate us on the installation process today when it comes to
Mitigating a home.
So, Cherie or Tom, I guess we'll start just. How does the installation a home's been tested and it's been found that it has elevated levels of radon. How does the installation process work?
Okay. So radon is a gas that comes up from underneath of the home, and we're creating a vacuum to remove the gas preemptively before it comes into the home. So we'll core drill down through the concrete floor in an unfinished part of the basement. We'll excavate material from underneath of the home, and then we'll put PVC piping into the basement floor, seal it off airtight, and route that piping up to above the roof line. There's an inline radon fan that'll pull air from underneath of the home and then exhaust it out to above the roof line.
Okay. Now there's different types of systems, correct?
Several. Yeah.
Okay.
All of them primarily operate the same way by pulling air from underneath of the home, but depending on the home's design, the system may be routed in a different location. We tend to stick to 2 different primary methods. One would be from the basement to the exterior directly, and then to above the roof line with the PVC piping, in which case the fan would be directly outside of the foundation wall.
Okay.
Or we'll route them from the basement into the garage, up into the attic space, in which case the radon fan is in the attic space above the garage, and then the final discharge goes through the roof line.
Okay. And I've seen them where there's the one right outside. I see a device similar to this right outside the wall, where the concrete foundation and wherever the other part of the construction meet. And I've also seen them in the basements of homes as well. In both cases, I hear the fan going. For that reason, is it better to have it outside the home, or is there ways to kind of limit the amount of noise that it's making inside the home, or how does that work? How loud are these, I guess is my question. Is there a way to manage that?
2 things in there. One, you see them in the basements, then you see them on the outside. And so all radon systems start in the basement. The piping goes down through the floor, and then if the fan goes to the outside, it's there, or if it's in the attic, it's up in the attic space. So the pipe route has to go to above the roof line either way. Now, when it comes to noise, with any moving parts, any fan, there's always going to be some type of noise. There's the air velocity moving through the system itself, and then there's actually a little bit of a hum to any one of these fans. Probably not as loud as a refrigerator would be, or really, if you thought about it, probably not as loud as your own HVAC system is when it's running. You hear the air moving through those vents.
Right.
But there is some concern to it. You might want to consider the location. If you're very noise sensitive, you might not want this on the outside of your bedroom, as an example.
Right.
And there's choices to be made on the design and the location of where it can go. Myself personally, I think that if you can hide these systems entirely and keep the fan in the attic space over the garage, that would probably be the best. Not every house is going to allow that, though. I mean, not every house is set up with unfinished area right next to the garage to make that a possibility.
Okay.
But when we put them in the attic space, we tend to stay over the garage attic as opposed to going over somebody's bedroom or the main part of the house.
Okay. So all those things are considered when you're kind of figuring out where you're going to put the system. So ultimately, so it sounds like the location of where you're putting the system in the home kind of depends on the type of system that you're putting in.
And a lot of times it depends on where's the unfinished area.
Okay.
Where is the unfinished area in the home?
Okay.
Sometimes by default, that's the one spot you have left before you're cutting into carpeting and drywall and things of that nature.
So it's not like this home levels of radon does not affect types of system. Location of the systems you're putting in place have to do with the type of systems that you're putting in.
Right, and the footprint of the house, how large the footprint of the house is.
Yeah.
There are certain benefits to putting in radon systems in older homes in different locations as opposed to just wherever it might be most aesthetically correct.
Okay.
There's situations where you'll run into some of the older homes and they'll have tighter soil underneath of the home, and you know that by the neighborhood going in there in advance. So you have to be careful. A lot of times the basement will be 100% finished, and then the choice is, let's put this over in this closet area. And you cut down through the floor in that closet area, and you find that you've got really tight soil and you're not able to pull any air from it. So there's considerations for each home that are unique to the home.
Okay, and as far as warranties for the radon systems, what types of warranties are provided for?
We offer a 5-year parts and labor warranty.
Okay.
We guarantee that the levels, we can bring them below the 4.0 picocuries per liter.
Yeah.
However, we do our best to get the levels down as low as possible.
Right.
We oftentimes see results lower than 1.0.
Okay.
That's an interesting thought there as well. We don't have any control, nor does any other mitigator out there, on what the actual end results will be.
For sure.
A lot of times people will say, well, I want this down below 2, or I want this down below 1, or what. We don't have a lot of control over that. We do our best every time, and we try and achieve the results. But there's houses out there that we'll go and we'll bring our A game, just like anybody else, and we'll put the mitigation system in there. And the post-mitigation test results come back and they're still above 4.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes these systems will need to be modified. They'll have to have changes made to them. There's houses out there that'll have more than one radon system put into it.
Yeah.
And, so it's not like putting in a microwave or a dishwasher and you're completely finished. You have to do the follow-up testing afterwards to make sure.
For sure. Mother Nature has a say in it too, I guess, right? So, okay, well, what are the costs associated? Well, I mean, given that we just said all that, I know the costs vary because it depends on the home and what all the things you just mentioned, how much is it going to take to actually get it to where it needs to be. So, is there any general costs that is there any general costs you'd like to mention on?
Most of the radon systems come in under $1,000, almost regardless what we run into. There's probably an average price point, $750 to $800 or so.
Okay.
But when you look at homes and what they are, and so if you have a house that has a basement and it also has a crawl space, or it also has a slab on grade area, you may very well have 3 different areas of the home that have its own independent radon problem. And so you're not going to be able to, you may be able to put a radon system into one area and have a solution for all of it by default, because there's not radon in each section, but you could have radon in more than one section. So you may need to treat a crawl space separately and in addition to the main body of the home. And then likewise, you can see, there's different pieces here. So a larger home, as an example, might take larger venting equipment as opposed to a typical home that might use smaller venting equipment. And there's different fan sizes. You can see the difference in these 2 fans, different applications. A smaller home that might not require as much air to move through the home, and a larger footprint, say over 2,000 square feet in the basement area, might require larger equipment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know it varies in the 750 to 800 seems to be the most standard that I've seen, but in the event that it's required, it's a little bit more specific type of house or a little bit more stubborn type of radon. I know that varies.
Well, or as an example, somebody may not have anything unfinished in their basement to work with, and then you wind up needing to cut through drywall and carpet and get pretty custom with the work.
Okay, and that's that'll be a good segue into our episode 4 of the series. On the next episode, when we talk about benefits of getting radon systems in with new construction homes when someone's building. So we'll talk about that on the next episode though. So again, we mentioned it before, but how can people find you online and social media?
Online, stlradon.com. We can also be found on Facebook, and our phone number is 636-200-2875.
Great. Well, thanks, Tom and Cherie, for coming on. Look forward to the next episode of the series. And that concludes this week's episode of The Bob Wahl Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye for now. See you next week.
Thank you.